Alright, here we are. Let me put this a bit up. There we go. There we go. I'm working with a slanted roof, so it's a little hard to determine to not smash my PC into the slanted roof, because that's going to leave a dent, and that's not what we want. Additionally, I hope everyone's doing well. We've got one hell of a stream today. I'm just going to put the light a little bit warmer, because else I look so pale. How are you, Jagu? Alright, let's make this a nice touch warmer. You know, a little bit of live color grading, if you will. That's maybe a little too bright. And just a little up on that one. Yeah, that's better. Looking a bit more natural, slightly. Not amazingly, but who cares for good lighting, am I right? That should be everyone, by the way. You should all care about good lighting. Not necessarily during a stream, but during your game. You should totally care about that. How's everyone doing today? Let's just say the last few days have been a little bit crazy for me. Mainly because the Death Star lamp is really, really cool. Thanks, I really appreciate that. Death Star lamp, very awesome. I'm very happy with it. I'm very like it looks more like a Death Star. Hang on. Now, if that don't look like a Death Star, I don't know what does. So, yeah, it's kind of like my own little personal Dyson sphere. It just costs energy instead of delivering, but, you know. It's really, really cool. It is really awesome. But yeah, the last few days have been a little bit crazy. Mostly because after we wrote and posted the response post to the guy's post about how AAA fails and how much harder it is as an indie dev, it got a little bit out of hand, just a tiny bit. It ended up being one of the most upvoted posts in r/game dev in a little while. There was lots of responses by lots of different people, which was really awesome to see. Like, there's some really interesting discussions that came out of that. So, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen that, you missed out. That's really what I'm trying to say. And today we're going to try and do the same thing, right? Because there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people that followed based on the post alone, which is awesome. Thanks for the follows. Thanks to P Brand, Frozy Gammert, Chocolate Kieran, Spilt Milk Studios, Sloppy Toad Rag, P Diork, Talking Wires, Spigot and Goliath. You guys followed last time. Tomb Charted 4, and I think that's most. Actually, so it's 8 people. Thanks to all of those people for following based on the post. I really appreciate it. But today we're going to do something similar again, because I saw another post, and I think it's good to discuss. I think there's a nugget of information there that kind of got handled, but not really. And so hopefully I can provide some insight on how I think, in my opinion, it should be done. And we can have a cool discussion about that and see, you know, if we all agree, and we can kind of like write the post together and really have a nice interactive discussion going on. So let me switch to this screen, and then we'll go to my profile. We're going to go into the saved category, and we're going to click, which one was it? This one. So it wasn't about the original question, because, yeah, that's cool. But it was about this initial set of responses that I found really interesting. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. How it's going. Running out of money, still searching for a publisher without much luck. Regrets, none at all. This has been the most rewarding journey of my life. Lessons, learn how to market and find out early if you've got something marketable before spending a lot of time on developing it. Accomplishments, my game won the most fun award at an expo, and in my opinion, that's the most important category. So Tim Bodette, who is the developer of Accelerate, which we played back in April, I believe, and we also did a video on, he said, I definitely agree with your lesson on marketing and have ideas, but I'm curious if you have specifics on how to find out if something is marketable before spending time on it. Now, the responses were very interesting to me, like very, very interesting, because it showed to me, at least, and we'll go through them in a second, it showed to me that not only do these full-time indie devs that have a bit of money struggle with this, if that's really the case, then surely a lot of starting out indie devs are definitely having problems. They might even not realize they have this problem. And so I figured, okay, why not dedicate a whole stream to it? This is very relevant to my interests. Good, then you're in the right place. Invite all your friends and family, because likely they'll find this interesting too. Okay, so the initial response from Lunar Fable Games was, unfortunately, I haven't yet learned how to market well. From what I've seen, the general advice is to start with some concept art or a prototype and share it around social media to gauge interest. Almost. It got very close. Almost. You could also pitch it to publishers, investors. No, stop it. Don't do that. To see if it gains any traction. I've heard most of your success is determined the moment you choose your genre and art style. I've never heard of this before, and I definitely don't entirely think it's true. So in theory, you don't really need much to start showing it around. Maybe just posting some concept art in r/gaming and other related subreddits would work. Maybe. So the response after that was first from Tim and then from the OP. My genre is chosen, racing games. I will specialize in a single genre to build off the experience, features, and leverage an existing audience, among other things. Art style can shift around wildly, though my capabilities currently lie with lower poly styles, since that's what I've practiced most. I think there's more than just plugging concept art and prototypes, as that only really gains traction if A, you just get randomly lucky with virality, and sometimes that can be a lie, true, or B, you already have an audience which can spawn that virality. Yes-ish. I've got much to learn still, but when coming up with an idea, I will spend time approaching how I will market that idea. Doing my best to put my mindset into that of the typical audience member and talking to them. If that seems an easy, enticing sell, then it probably is. Okay, so this is why I love Tim Bodette. The guy is just 100% genuine, in my opinion. Like I had some good feedback for his game, for Accelerate, but regardless of that, because feedback is a good thing, right? Receiving feedback is a good thing. I absolutely adore the guy because he is so genuine in everything he says. So always props to him for just keeping it real and keeping it honest, really, because that's that's an issue. If you're both of these things at the same time, keeping things honest, that appears to be an issue for a lot of big YouTubers in this space. So that's why I always appreciate Tim for this. Then the OP responded saying, that makes a lot of sense. Either people who are into the genre will like your game, or they won't even care. Really got to know your audience. True. It really helps if you're one of that audience. Not necessarily true. But then you look at games like RimWorld, and it feels like the dev just created his own genre of colony sims. Experimental, but very successful. So just a quick note on this. RimWorld is actually super inspired by Dwarf Fortress, which... dishonest YouTubers. Surprise Pikachu face. So RimWorld is hardcore based on Dwarf Fortress, which is a good thing, right? Having a really strong reference game is super important, and that is the thing that usually creates which can create a lot of cool ideas, a lot of very fun and commercially viable ideas. So, yeah, experimental but very successful. Yes and no. But again, we're going to get into this. So out of this whole exchange, the thing that I kind of like extract out of this is that, especially someone like Tim Bodette, who is arguably successful, is still unsure on how to find something that's commercially viable. I don't know if, maybe Jagger, maybe you know that. I don't know if Tim ever uploaded a video on the numbers behind Accelerate. If he ever showcased if it was successful or not. Because if I just go here into Steam and I just find Accelerate, I'm not sure. Okay, so he's got 50 very positive reviews. So if we go into the calculator and we take 50 times 41, the assumption here is, and this is based on some slightly outdated research from 2019 or 2020, is that for every one review, 41 people buy the game. well, no, so sorry, for every 41 people that bought the game, one will leave a review. That's kind of the theory. So if that's 2,550 copies times the sale price, puts them at about 20.5K. Which he did give the numbers. Okay, great. Yeah, because I'm sure he also sold some of his DLC, but probably nearly not as much as the base game. So all in all, 20.5K. I don't know how long he spent on this game, but that would be roughly about 6 to 9 months of runway in just a normal Western country, if you're living in an area that's kind of cheap to live in, which isn't a lot, right? Drop a link in Discord. Awesome, perfect, thank you. Let me have a look-see. All right, we won't watch the whole video. Oh God, no, don't do that. We won't watch the whole video.
Hello, turtles. I'm Tim Bodette, and today I'll be sharing
Gotta love the guy.
the nitty-gritty about my indie adventure through 2020. My indie adventure focused mostly on this.
The plan expenses. Here we go.
On the cost of living for a very small portion of time, and $1,500 on business costs like the license, PO box, web hosting, software and hardware, etc. The remaining expenses break down per project, with Accelerate costing the most at $2,300,
Okay.
Rally of Rockets climbing to $900, and $650 on a few other projects.
So that's actually pretty nice of a breakdown that we get there. Oh, that is loud. Oh, sorry. Hang on.
Including equipment for this YouTube channel. As shared earlier, there are other expenses I can't give exact details of, and I wish to be as transparent as I can. Just know that this is higher than it seems. Income. February and March were crunch time to bring Accelerate to Steam and release my first game as an actual product. Reception was better than expected, and the sales continued well into the summer, with a few fairly big YouTubers making videos. With that said, my expectations were low, and Accelerate has a long way to go before becoming profitable, as you can learn about in this video covering my first 1,000 sales. Through Accelerate sales in 2021 on both itch.io and Steam.
There you go. So this paints a pretty interesting picture. With the most important information being that Accelerate in 2021 actually made him less money than streaming did, which is crazy. And that does not mean that everyone should start streaming now, because unless you really love to stream for streaming, then go ahead, do it. But if you're doing it for the money, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I can tell you that much.
I've been told this income does not count. 2021, streaming pulled in $4,700, making it a substantial part of my income for that period. Related would be the Patreon campaign, where I share my business reports each month, totaling 1,000 hours.
This is actually the part I'm really...
To date, my indie adventure has earned just over $21,000 and spent $10,000. It took 4 years to reach this point, totaling 6,200 hours of effort. $1.77 an hour for the whole adventure so far. That might not sound like anything special, but it is extremely exciting for me, as growing a business takes a lot of time. The first 10,000 took 3 years and 4,200 hours. The second 10,000 in 2021 was a single year and 2,000 hours. Hourly rate in that year was $322, which shows substantial growth. If you value money, then building your own business and games is not the place to find it.
Thanks, Tim. That is a very good point. So as we just saw in here, I kind of hate it since I think it's too much themed to Easter. It really is. It has its own flaws. It really does, and it's one of the parts that we're going to look into in terms of how to find out if your game is commercially viable. But this is a very interesting picture to me. In all cases, this means that he is basically earning what here in the Netherlands would be called illegal. maybe that the $3.22 roughly translated to euros would maybe like the wage of like a 17-year-old working at like a supermarket or like a grocery store. Maybe, but that's like on the low end. So yeah, you want to avoid this. That's the problem, right? I've come to the problem statement of this stream. You want to earn money with your games. You don't want to end up like this, where you've spent God knows how many years to essentially come down to, well, at the best case scenario, $3.22 an hour of wage for all the hours, the countless nights you put in, right? So then the question becomes, okay, how do I avoid this? How do I make sure that my game is commercially viable before I put a ton of time into it? And that's the post we're writing today. I've already titled it with how to find out if your game is going to be, well, between parentheses, commercially viable. God, where do we even start? I have some ideas. So, little blurby intro. That's what I'll say for later, because I don't know what I want to say there yet. Instead, we're going to look at a few things. So, how to make your game commercially viable. So there's a few things that you can already do, right? And I'm just going to list them here just for the sake of having a list. And then later on, we're going to, break this down into much more detailed pieces, and we'll go from there. So first things first is, market research. Second thing is prototyping. Well, I'm just gonna call it differently. I'm gonna say extensive prototyping. The third thing is knowing how to market. The fourth thing is don't be a liar. The fifth thing is what else can I think of to make this commercially viable? Don't be a liar is a good one. It's a really good one. You'd be surprised how many people lie in the process to try and make something commercially viable. I feel like this is another one of those surprise Pikachu face moments where it's like, people lie to make money? No way. Pretty sure it's just called advertising. Okay, I think we're going to start here with these four. And I am sure that we're going to run into more topics to cover progressively. Yeah, we're gonna make this an iterative process, like everything in game dev should be. All right, let's pull this out a bit, because I like a nice big working space to do my thing in. All right, title: market research. Right? No, don't do market research, please. Because, and I need to open this in a separate tab to not show my login details. Alright, can I log in? Yes, I can. Log in now. Perfect. Okay, that is a little bit annoying, but it's fine. Alright, so I'm just gonna put this like this. Which should give everyone the information they need without showing any of my information. Perfect. So what people tend to do when it comes to market research, let's say I want to make a game like Factorio, right? They're going to go search for Factorio in Steam Spy, and they're going to see, whoa, so big numbers, right? Or they might even do it on SteamDB. Because I know that they have slightly different numbers. So SteamDB charts. We're going to be rich. I always appreciate your input, Jagger. Here we go. So here we go. Here's some owner estimations, and there's some different estimations based on it. It also includes Steam Spy, so that's always nice. But yeah, look at all these players. Look at all these buyers. I think Factorio at the moment is like $30. So, I mean, it didn't used to be that expensive. I think it was $15 for the majority of its lifetime. So even if we take the lowest number here, which is 2.88 million, 2880000, and we do this times $15, whoa, it's a lot of money. This is what people do, seriously. And I know that I've done this, right? I'm 100% guilty of this. I know that. I know that you've likely done this, and I know that you're guilty of that too. And that's okay, because we're trying to apply basic covered by your camera. Oh, covered by my camera. Nice, thanks. Appreciate it. 43 million. Whoa, big numbers. I know that you're guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it. But that's because we're trying to apply very basic business principles on game development. And game development is, in a lot of ways, truly different and requires just a slightly different approach. Because what you're going to end up running into, because if I now do the same thing, but then for Satisfactory, because that's kind of like a similar type of game, so, you know, let's see, where that's at. So lowest number, 2.19. I know the game is like $30, so, again, insane numbers, right? And if I go to Shapes, oh, there's a Shapes 2? What? That must be recent. I've not seen that before. Again, I mean, there is lower numbers, but there is also higher numbers. So if I want to make a factory management game, and I do my market research like this, then just on the premise of saying I'm going to make a factory management game, or like an automation management game, whatever, there's a huge market for it, right? Not really. Because these numbers mean nothing. These numbers only mean something within the context of this game. There is 1.18 million people, according to Play Tracker, that have bought Shapes, right? But that's because there's 1.18, what was it? 1.18 million people loved the way that Shapes looked and presented itself. And they love every little intricacy about Shapes specifically that caused them to initially buy the game and not refund it, right? You cannot say, I'm going to make a factory management game or an automation management game, and all of these other examples, Factorio, Satisfactory, Shapes, whichever genre you want to be in, have this amount of sales and are doing really well. So because of that, factory management games or automation management games have a huge audience and are hugely commercially successful. Because that's not true. You're looking at the survivors. I've been entertaining a thought of making a game like Production Line. Production Line is very fun, I must admit. I've got like 20 hours in that, I think, but that's because I don't have a lot of time. Let's see what Production Line did in terms of sales. There you go. Very different. Still very good. Like, very, very good. But still very different, right? But all of this has two problems. The first thing is survivorship bias. I won't go too deep into it because it's a well-covered topic. And the second thing is that you're trying to do basic business market research on a market, games, that really doesn't follow the same rules necessarily. So let's write about that. So the first thing is trying to apply market research principles on a market that behaves a little differently. Taking away the wrong data from any market research. And then the next chapter automatically becomes so what should I do? And that's going to be an interesting thing to go into. Okay, so let's write this. Just making sure you guys can hear the music, because I sometimes can't, which is a little annoying. That's because of my headphones. It's annoying. Yes. No. Maybe. Probably not. I know I am being a little vague here, but that has a good reason. Whenever we recommend new developers to do market research, they Google how to do it, end up on a random website that talks about market research in the context of business rather than the context of games. Let's put that not in between brackets because that makes it a weird sentence. Rather than the context of games. They Google how to do it, end up on a random website that talks about market research in the context of business rather than the context of games, and ultimately will apply all of the wrong principles. Let's put it into an example. I want to make a factory. I automatically typed Factorio. I've got too many hours in that game. I want to make a factory management game / automation management game. So to do my market research, I need to take a look at my reference games. For that we need a list. Factorio, Satisfactory, Shapes, and Production Line. And for Factorio, let's quickly take a look. So, well, for Production Line, let's take the range between the high and the lows. Let's just take the average, actually. Average is likely around 184. There we go. Let's just put that behind. Oh no, behind all of them. And then we'll update the numbers. So for Factorio, it is 2. Well, this is definitely not an average number. Let's put it at 4.66 million. There we go. Then for Satisfactory, oops. Rough average puts it at 3.83. There we go. And then Shapes. Shapes. Also, I'm so surprised about Shapes 2. Coming soon. So 3 days ago. And it's 3D. What? Craziness. Absolute craziness. Who would have thought that was coming? I didn't. That's for sure. Yeah, rough average is this one. Okie dokie. There we go. Excellent. I also take a look at the positive and negative review ratio, which I kind of don't want to add, but for completeness we should, because that's what we're about here. Yep, here we go. Okay, I can't easily copy that, no, which is annoying. God damn it. Verify I'm human. I'm a human. Right, 93.89% up for Shapes. That was 93.89% positive. Oh, man, sometimes formatting makes me go crazy. There we go. I should have had this information in just when I just now did it. 95.28. Hell yeah. Oh, no. No. My other page. This one. What was it? I forgot the number. 95.28. Oh, I did it again. 95.28. 95.28. Hell yeah, Factorio. Going strong, as always. Satisfactory. 95.71. No! Satisfactory, how dare you? 95.71. I actually don't agree with that number, but it's the masses speaking, so I can't say anything about it. 80.52. Very good. 80.52. So what is my conclusion? Factory management games. You cannot be 100% on your own. Exactly. Factory management games are commercially viable, and are always positively received. Okay, now I'm kind of oh, thank you. Very good. Okay. So I'm obviously spelling it out a little bit here. This music is very loud for me. It's just a little annoying. I'm obviously spelling it out a little bit here. Because I think we can all agree that based on this information, you're going to create a very skewed image of what is commercially viable. Yeah, and it's actually you are not looking at what matters. Yeah, so based on these, I think we can all agree that we're setting up the wrong reality for what is considered commercially viable, right? Now, this is a bit of an easy example for the purpose of illustration. And I think we can all agree that when we see this information, there are a few things wrong with it. Is there like like subheaders? I don't think so, right? No, I don't think so. Well, maybe. What if I do that? Oh no, that puts it in a thingy, in a super what's it called? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. We'll just do we'll do a bolded version. Okay. Survivorship bias. That's the first thing. If that market research would be accurate, then there would be a lot more Game of Millionaires. Yeah, there would be. The first well-documented issue is about survivorship bias. Now let's take the Wikipedia survivorship bias. Let's take the Wikipedia definition, right? And just link it, because I want to make sure that everyone kind of knows what it is. Survive, oops, like that. Link. There we go. Is survivorship bias. The first well-documented issue is survivorship bias. When we do market research like this, we are only looking at the successful games in the genre, which is not what we want to do, right? Because if we do that, then we're not taking into account any of the failed games. We're only looking at successful games in the genre, which completely blinds us from realizing that there is an entire football field worth of an entire graveyard, the size of a football field, that's two separate words. There's an entire graveyard the size of a football field with factory management games that never made a penny, and that were negatively reviewed if they were bought by anyone, if they were played by anyone, I guess. But even if we take a look at the the failures, so to say, commercially speaking, fulfilled may be unnecessary in that sentence. Yeah, it is a bit too colorful. It is a little colorful. Maybe unnecessarily so colorful. God, we've already written so much. I'm not even through the first point yet. Okay, let's for the sake of size. There's an entire graveyard. There we go. With factory management games, and they made a penny that were. No, it's definitely were like management games, because games is plural, so it's definitely were. Dismiss. You're dismissed, Grammarly. If it's with the failures, commercially speaking, the inherent information of sales and positive and review ratio tells us nothing about how commercially viable any genre really is. This is because games aren't commercially viable due to their genre or art style or any other quantifiable factor. And I'm going to explain this in more detail, and I kind of already want to do that now. Games are successful because they're fun. And this is inherently the trick of game development and the trick of finding out what is commercially viable. It is all based on fun. Fun games get played. Games that get played sell more games. And games that sell a lot of themselves are successful. That is, I'm surprised I even got to like that sort of a conclusion. That is the conclusion, right? We're going to go into a lot of detail because obviously, how do you figure out something's fun? And that's going to be the next section. But yeah, that is the idea, right? So doing market research, and looking at sales numbers and stuff like that is not going to tell you how fun something is. If we take League of Legends, if we take a look at that, there's plenty of people that think that is lots of fun, and that's why it's so hugely successful. Because it is hugely successful. I don't find it fun, but that's a different matter. I'm not sure where I was going with the train of thought. The point is that things sell well when they're fun. That's the point. That's the point that, yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate. That's the point. And I'm going to put this sentence in bold, because this is a real takeaway. Like, that is, like, if people read nothing else out of everything I've typed so far, that is, like, the takeaway. So, when we force ourselves to do market research, we are automatically wasting time and effort by focusing on the wrong metrics, which is a shame. Better said, no. So what does determine So what does determine commercial viability? What does determine good sales? Fun. Games that are fun will sell. Asterisk. Games that get sold and subsequently played get bought by more people, and so the cycle continues until the point where you determine that it has been commercially viable. Well, successful. Let me reiterate this, actually. Games that are fun are much more likely to get sold. And I know this sounds super obvious. I get it. I have like 6 million thoughts running through my head at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna fit them all in. Because on the one hand, I want to talk about, okay, how do we determine when something's fun, right? How do we get to that point the quickest way possible? On the other hand, this needs extra explanation. This is not right the way it is at the moment. How do I clarify this further? Good question. Good question. No, I don't want to upgrade right now. I promise, Grammarly, I'll upgrade in the near future. I promise. I just gotta wait for my wage to come in. Or to have 50k viewers on Twitch, but, you know, whichever one comes first. Which will definitely be my wage. Okay. Let me take a sip. Let's reread it. The first well-documented issue is survivorship bias. When we do market research like this, we are only looking at the successful games in a genre, which completely blinds us from realizing that there is an entire graveyard with factory management games. Speaking of which, a factory management games of a graveyard. Oh wait, it's called Graveyard Keeper, never mind. That never made a penny, and that were negatively reviewed if they were played by anyone. But even if we take a look at the failures, commercially speaking, the inherent information of sales and review ratio tells us nothing about how commercially viable any genre really is. This is because games aren't commercially viable due to their genre, art style, or any other quantifiable factor. So when we force ourselves to do market research, we are automatically wasting time and effort by focusing on the wrong metrics, which is a shame. So what does determine commercial viability? What does determine good sales? Okay. Yeah, okay. That's kind of like a segue. Fun. Games that are fun are much more likely to get sold. Games that get sold and subsequently played get bought by more people, and so the cycle continues until the point where you determine that it has been commercially successful. Yeah. Okay. All right. But I should. This is a list, right? This is the way I'm writing. This is a list. So I need to. But the second thing is that even if we take a look at the failures, and then if I put this here, and then say, so finally, what does determine what, no, this is the wrong sentence. How do we determine commercial viability? How do we predict that our game will sell well. Whatever that means. Fun. Yeah. Yeah, this is a much better structure. Fun. Games that are fun are much more likely to get sold. Games that get sold and subsequently played get bought by more people. And so the cycle continues to the point where you determine this has been commercially successful. These... yeah. These people then leave positive reviews because they had fun. They had fun, which then leads them to... which then leads them to... Well, no. Which then leads others to buy your game, etc., etc. That is how the cycle continues. And then I'm just going to put here the wrong metrics, because again it requires titles. So how... Oh, God. How to determine... no, I'll title it differently. The right metrics. Metrics. Okay. If anyone has questions whilst I'm writing this, fire away. This is like a cooperative effort. This is not me just writing stuff and all of you just listening. What is this is a cooperative thing where you guys can hear to my babbling, can listen to my babbling, and then ask questions and challenge the assumptions that I'm making. Because that's what I want people to do. I want people to not just sit there and go like, yes, Christopher knows everything and everything he says is the ultimate truth. I am not just any game dev YouTuber. Instead, I want you to say, huh, that sounds strange, or that's not how I expected it to be. Can you explain more? Can you build more arguments as to why you think something is a certain way? Because that way, we're learning everything together, and I actually get the chance to just, you know, show you where my experience comes from and why I think a certain way. So yeah, feel free to just ask all kinds of questions. Okay. I just want the correct answer. Well, Jago, I'm afraid that can only happen until roughly... How long have we been... Jesus Christ, we've been streaming for an hour already. Christ. Okay, that'll only happen until probably another hour from now when we actually finish this post. Okay, alright, so we have the first point pretty nicely figured out. Which is nice, because that's already a pretty sizable chunk. I'm pretty sure this is already almost the same length as the other post we wrote recently. So market research, checked off. Off it goes. Extensive prototyping, okay. So what should I do? When we understand that market research in the traditional sense is futile. Is futile. What do we do? What do we do? Yeah. And we understand that the only factor that makes games successful, potentially successful, because there's still a pitfall, potentially successful, I mentioned that the only factor that makes games potentially successful is fun. Fun. We need to find a good way to figure out what is fun and what is not. Let's read that sentence again. When we understand that market research in the traditional sense is futile, and we understand and that the only factor that makes game successful is fun. We need to find a good way to figure out what is fun and what is not. Extensive prototyping enters the chat. I don't know if I want to keep that. But for now, we're going to keep it there. Yeah, extensive prototyping. For those that don't know, for those that are watching and are thinking, they are kind of scratching their head and thinking, okay, how do I do this? Ultimately, what you want is you want to spend the least amount of time possible to determine whether the concept you have, the idea you have, is fun and that players will think so. In order to do that, you need to do extensive prototyping, which really leans into the idea of iterative game development. And with iterative game development, because for me, it took a long time to understand all these terms. Iterative game development means that you make small improvements and test those improvements every single time, which means that at any moment, ideally, you're not testing more than one change, which is not always possible, but that's kind of the idea. That's kind of like the philosophy behind it. When you do this, you can check at every single test if your game is becoming more fun according to your testers or less fun, right? And based on that, you can make decisions and choices really quickly to come to the most fun version of your game. This still doesn't mean that you'll end up with a fun game, but it'll be the most fun that it could be within the constraints that you've set. God, this is going to turn into an entire game design talk, which I definitely don't have the time for, nor do we want to include that in this post necessarily. And I should mention that. Small disclaimer. Do not turn this post into an entire lecture on best game design principles. I will handle some of these topics in the future. If you have any questions, fire away in the comments. Yeah. I need to write principles correctly because I've wrote it wrong twice now. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Can you make sure you have enough fun in the game for prototyping? Like using principles from Jesse Shell's Dare to Game Design, Look at Lenses. Yes, I have this book. It's right there at the bottom. You guys can't see that. Hang on. Yeah, this book is come on. Yeah, is a really great read. It really is. I've never finished it, but there's lots of really good information in here. It's a good starter. I never finished it because I never really bought it, to be honest, but I think I got halfway at some point. But yes, you can definitely make sure you have enough fun in a prototype. That should be your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal should be that in your prototype, you have a very clear idea on what makes your game fun, and not only you, but your players, like, they will call it out. They will tell you, and they'll say, I love this, this was fun, I had a blast doing that. You know, they should give you that maybe it's not a list, but maybe it's one thing, but they should give you whatever it made fun for them. That's what they should give you. If they don't give you that, something is wrong. But again, let's put this in the post. Oh god, this is becoming world's longest long form content. I can't even extend it anymore. There we go. The book has free companion mobile app with the lens cards. Oh, nice, awesome! I didn't know that. That's awesome. That's really cool. That must be like a thing of the recent years, because that's definitely not a thing when I read it. But that's really awesome. Yeah, highly recommend it. The art of game design, a book of lenses. Do buy it. I don't get commission, so this is not an ad, but I really appreciated this book. So for however much I read it, I really appreciated this book. It was really helpful. Okay, so writing. Fun is subjective. And fun games sell. So with these two facts in mind, it is your job as an indie developer to figure out what makes your game fun without spending months upon months and thousands of dollars without spending months upon months and thousands of dollars on your game. Oh, nice. Cool. This also means that you should not spend hundreds of hours writing complicated GDDs and pitch decks. Please stop writing GDDs as an indie dev. No, I should exclude that. That is a very personal opinion that I don't want to put in this one. Let's put this as an extra sentence here at the end. So that is what we use. That is why we use extensive prototyping. Ideally, you want your game idea and what is and the factors that are supposed to make it fun fully playable. What's the timeline? Within the first 4 weeks at most. Yeah, but Chris, what if I'm making a strategic 4X game with lots of complicated AI and army mechanics and stuff like that? Well, either A, time to get to work, or B, scale down. Trust me, all of those complicated army maneuvers are not or is not going to be the feature that is going to make your game fun. All of the 26 million different civilizations you want to have in your civilization type game is not what's going to make it fun. So yeah, that's just, I won't put that in the post, but that's just a side note for anyone that might have that question that's watching. Yeah, I know that is a common comment that kind of comes back. So that is why we use extensive prototyping. Ideally, you want your game idea and the factors that are supposed to make it fun. No. Fully playable within the first 4 weeks. And it's not supposed to go in front of here. It's supposed to make it fun, fully playable. Yeah, it's a weird sentence. This is a whole weird paragraph. God damn it. Forcing my brain to put creative content onto a page. How do I do this? I guess a takeaway from if you're watching me do this, if you see the amount of effort and consideration that goes into writing a well-informed post like this, well, in my opinion, a well-informed post, it should be probably 10 times more consideration going into your game idea. Like seriously, you need to put a good amount of time and effort into this, regardless. But there is some limits. So what is extensive prototyping? Extensive prototyping. and how can we leverage it to find our fun. To avoid spending a lot of time on your game idea, no, to avoid spending too much time on your game idea, you want to find the most basic version of your game and its core loop, and that is what you are going to develop. If this takes more than 4 weeks to do, you haven't stripped away enough features, or you do not understand what makes your game idea fun. Once you have this very first prototype ready, you want to extensively test it and test every single small iteration that comes after it in a very short timeline. Ideally, you would do something like the following. Oh god, did lots of changes now? I don't know, no idea. Spend a max of 4 weeks on the first prototype. Test it with 10 people. This is important. I'll put a little roughly sign in front of it. Write down their feedback and only make the improvements that you can do within 1 week of time. Because again, if you need more time to implement the improvements, it either again means one of two things: you're thinking too big, or you actually don't know what your fun is, and you're kind of just trying to shoot randomly into the dark, hoping you hit the target. You should just watch them play if you can. Yes, good point. Write down their feedback. And what? Yeah, hold on. Actually, hang on. Watch them play the game too. Write down their feedback. Oops. And what only make hang on. And only make the improvements that you can do within 1 week of time. Anything more than this, anything that takes more time to do. Oh, no. God, Jesus Christ. Oh. Oh, God, that was terrifying. Jesus. I just did Control-A, delete, like some kind of idiot. I need to have a second place for this content. This whole goddamn thing. I am not doing that. No way. I'm gonna copy all of this and put it in a separate little tab. Whew. Maybe use a proper text editor. Yeah, well, actually, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, blank. There we go. I'll put it in docs on the side here, which kind of holds the formatting quite well, so that's nice. Okay, I'll continue writing it in Reddit, and I'll just save the version. Nothing that could go wrong here. Okay. I'm gonna put this in a separate point. Actually, I'm gonna do it even better. Watch them play, and write down the feedback. Then only pick the feedback you can address within 1 week of time. Within 1 week. Anything that falls outside of this window time is either too big of a solution for too big of a flaw. Yeah. Is too big of a solution for too big of a flaw. For too big of a flaw, scrap it. Scrap the game. You gotta be harsh. You have to be. And I did just realize that I put a asterisk here somewhere earlier. And I didn't refer back to it anymore. Or did I? Oh no, I rewrote the sentence. Okay, cool. Okay. Repeat. There we go. When you do this, you will very quickly find out how to make your game fun, or find out that your game idea isn't fun, which allows you to scrap it and move on to the next thing. Yeah. Yeah. Please be hard on yourself when doing this, as the results of your playtest should be clear as day for you to continue working on it. That is so important. Like, you cannot think to yourself, like, oh, I got this feedback and I don't really know how to solve the feedback they're giving me, so I'm going to just apply this, this solution that I think might work. And that's kind of like how I'm going to keep going, because then you're going to get stuck in this loop of being afraid to kill your game idea, which allows you to waste time and money. Yeah, don't do that. The whole goal, after all, is to find out what is commercially viable as quickly as possible without wasting any time, effort, or money. Clear as day. Should be as clear as possible for you to continue working on it. There we go. Okay. Christ. Long form content, am I right? So what should I do? Let me just see if I can loop back again. The only factor that makes games potentially successful is fun. We need to find a good way to figure out what is fun and what is not. Fun is subjective, and fun games sell. At least it is not for Twitter. No, I'm going to need a lot more characters to put this on Twitter. It is your job as an indie developer to figure out what makes your game fun, without spending months upon months and thousands of dollars on your game. This also means you should not spend hundreds of hours writing complicated GTDs and pitch decks. To be fair, anyone that spends any amount of time on GDDs will likely, it won't be a complicated GDD, let alone an accurate one or a useful one. So that's again, that's a whole separate topic. GDDs are just inherently shit unless done by a professional. And I'll die by that opinion too. So what is extensive prototyping? How can we leverage it to find our fun? To avoid spending too much time on your game idea, you want to find the most basic version of your game and its core loop, and that is what you're going to develop. Yeah. If this takes more than 4 weeks to do, you haven't stripped away enough features, or you don't understand what makes your game fun. Yeah, and this is so important. Like, you have to know right from the inception of your game, right? The 3 hours you spend working out your game idea a little bit, you have to understand what makes it fun. You have to. Like for the game we're working on right now, I know that the fun lies in managing the different traps and trying to get the adventurer from point A to point B. That's the whole fun, right? It's running back and forth, the panic of making sure they don't die, almost creating an emotional connection with Dave, and saving him from a very painful death. That's the idea. Yeah. Where did I leave off? I don't know. My brain is scatterbrained at the moment. Once you have this very first prototype ready, you want to extensively test it and test every single small iteration that comes after it in a very short timeline. Ideally, you would do something like the following. Spend a max of 4 weeks on the first prototype, test it with roughly 10 people, watch them play and write down the feedback. Then only pick the feedback you can nurse within 1 week. Repeat. Anything that falls outside of this time is too big of a solution for too big of a flaw. Scrap the game. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way that turned out, because that is just so true. When you do this, you will very quickly find out how to make your game fun, or find out that your game idea isn't fun, which allows you to scrap it and move on to the next thing. Please be hard on yourself with doing this, as the results of your playtest should be as clear as possible for you to continue working on it. The whole goal, after all, is to find out what is commercially viable as quickly as possible without wasting any time, effort, or money. Yeah. So that kind of already loops it back quite nicely to just where we started. Yeah. In the last post I wrote, we talked briefly about the Kano model, which allows you to determine which work brings the most value for your game, which is also really helpful during the prototyping phase. Read up on the Kano model here, for I have not yet written a post about it. Or send me a chat to talk about it in the context of your game. Okay, let's quickly find a link to the Kano model. We had the Medium article, I believe. Medium. Oopsie. Oh, there's actually a lot of different Medium articles about this. This is a bit of a weird one. Which one was it? Oh, I can actually find it in my history, to be honest. Here we go. This one. There we go. Alright. There we go. Oh, actually, I should also link it here. Link it in 2 places. Which work brings the most value to your game? Yep, there we go. Yeah, I think this chapter is pretty complete. I think this pretty clearly explains how to come to the fun. Well, ultimately, ultimately, you will end up with a conclusion about the fun of your game within 8 weeks, which is much better than the months slash years I see people spend on a game that end up I see people spend on games that end up with a disappointing result. Right, with disappointing results. Yeah, there we go. And I actually want to add a little bit of a section here at the top, which is actually very important. Determine what you want to achieve. And this can also be crossed out. There we go. Because being commercially viable isn't always the goal, especially if you're starting out. Like the goal for your very first game should not be to be commercially viable. God no, that is setting yourself up for failure, like 100% of the time. And this has to do with the 20 project rule that I talk about quite a lot, which I'm going to explain here as well. We all want our games to be commercially viable, but should they be? When you are a starting out indie developer, you should not want to aim for being commercially viable. This is because of my self-invented 20 project rule. The 20 project rule dictates that your first 20 projects are going to be really bad. The last, much less bad than the first, but still pretty bad. And this is 100% okay. After all, you are only just starting out. You still have to learn everything. So please do not set yourself up for failure by putting the bar way too high, adding an infinite amount of stress, only to get disappointed by your first or 19th game not selling well. Commercial viable could also be understood as not overspending on the game. I think it needs to be included in consideration. Yes, I think you're right. Yes, let's make another topic for that. What does commercially viable mean for you? When you are a starting out indie developer, yeah, this is perfectly fine. You should not want to aim for being commercially viable. This is because of my self-invented 20 project rule. Let's add a dash here, hyphen. Sorry. The 20 project rule dictates that your first 20 projects are going to be really bad. The last is much less bad than the first, but still pretty bad. And this is 100% okay. After all, you're only just starting out. You're still filtering everything. So please do not set yourself up for failure by putting the bar way too high, adding any amount of stress. I want to get this by your first turn. I think I'm not selling well. This is also why I never recommend people to quit their job to make games full time. At least not in 99.9% of the cases. Because guys, this is also why I never recommend people quit their job. Yeah, because guys, let's be honest, stop quitting your job to make games. Unless you have a virtually unlimited amount of money, and even then I still wouldn't recommend it, but then at least you won't perish whilst trying to do it, which is cool, I guess. But yeah, if you don't have that, if you don't have just basically at least a year worth of salary, like normal salary, saved up, don't quit your job. And even then, still don't quit your job. Don't do that. Stop it. It's not worth it. And you're very likely to fail because you're putting an insane amount of pressure on yourself. Yeah, I think this is pretty complete. Then the next one, additionally, we have to determine what commercial viability means to you. As someone in my stream mentioned, this could mean any of the following things. Not losing any money on your game, earning 5k off your game, becoming financially independent due to your game sales, etc., etc. Could be a lot of reasons, right? There could be a lot of different definitions here. Actually, there's one more reason that I'm gonna add here. Making one sale. Could be. If that is commercial viability to you, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is something you need to get clear for yourself. For me, for example, I think personally for me, commercial viability, and I actually hadn't put too much thought into this yet, to be entirely honest. I think for me, it would mean probably not losing any money on my game. That'd be my first step, I think. Creating a 12-month runway for your next project. I don't know. And actually, I think I would actually want something like that. I think I actually want to probably create like a 6-month runway for my next project. That's probably so that I could basically go full time or nearly full time. I would still want to do my day job because I really love my day job. Yeah, I would want to create like a 6-month runway so that I could maybe start working like 2 days a week instead of 3 days a week, or instead of 5 days a week for my day job. And spend the other 3 that are now free on my next indie game, right? That'd be something that I would want to do. That's probably my definition of commercial viability. Get this clear for yourself. That helps a lot with the expectations further down the line. Good shout there, Jago. I appreciate it. God, there's so much text. Okay, then what was the next point? Knowing how to market. Yes. So you found your fun. This is going to be massive. I hope so. I know what you mean with the text length, but I hope that it gets received well. We are in like a prime time now to like if we post this in like the next 30 minutes, we get the best of like the European time zone, we get the best of the American time zone. It should put a bunch of eyeballs on it, but that's only if people actually like the content. So maybe we have to trim it a little bit, but we should first finish it. I wasn't actually expecting it to take this long, to be honest. But there's just so many points to explain. There's so much stuff to talk about, to make sure that all the nuances come across, to make sure that all the details come across properly. And to be honest, I'm keeping it short now. This is short. I could talk for days about this stuff, because so many people get it so bloody wrong all the time, and I hate all of the YouTubers that get this wrong. Because it's not even that it's like a different opinion, right? It's just wrong. It worked for them, and so they decide, this is the way that it must work for everybody. So I'm gonna shove my shitty videos down your throat, and I'm gonna pretend like it's the truth. And that's also why I say challenge me on my assumptions, challenge me on what I'm saying, because I'm not the only source of truth. I'm not. I happen to have a relatively significant amount of experience to be able to share this stuff with you guys, but challenge me. Do it. That's fine. Give me the feedback that I need. Get clarification. Because if I'm full of shit, I want you guys to find out about it. Simple as it gets. So you find your fun. Full stop. Great. Good job. You are part of the last 5%. No, that sounds too condescending. That's not nice. Good job. That is probably the hardest part done. No, I think that is the hardest part. Not even probably. I think that is the hardest part. That is the hardest part done. That is the hardest part. The next part is also hard, but luckily a little easier than the previous. Because now that you found your fun, you need to know how to market it. And remember, fun games sell. If no, hold on. Which brings me back to what I said earlier. Fun games sell. This statement is only true if you understand how to market that fun, how to communicate to your potential player base. How to communicate to your potential player base what is fun about your game, and why they would love it. Yes. Which makes me realize that there is obviously still something to be said for market research in the sense of, okay, who are my players? Who is my player base? But that's more like a demographic research. That's not really market research. In order to figure this out, you will need to do a little bit of demographic research. So here are some notes. Determine for yourself what your ideal, what your players look like. What is their age? What games do they like? How do they play games? How long is each game session? Etc., etc. Um, um, try to find as many quantitative. There we go. Quantitative factors that give you a good idea on what your player base looks like. For example, if your game has a very short gameplay loop, core play loop, then focus on players that don't have a lot of time to play long sessions. To give a little more detail here in stream, what you want in this case, ideally, you don't want to focus on teens and like the 18 to 24-year-old age range, because those people usually have the most time, right? So if they really love gaming, they'll make time for it. Instead, you probably want to focus on young parents or people with very busy social lives, people that have 5 to 20 minutes at most to play a game. Usually they might do that on their phone, they might do it on the Switch, they might do it on the Steam Deck, usually on portable formats. And if you know all of that, focus on that. Like these are natural conclusions you're gonna make. No one, well, not no one. There's a very limited number of people that have 20 minutes to play a game, and that are subsequently going to launch up an entire gaming rig, to play for 20 minutes and then shut it down again. They are much more likely to pick up a Switch, which they can literally just take out of the dock and it turns on and boom, they're off, right? Within 60 seconds, within 30 seconds, they're off, right? And they can do this anywhere, right? They're not stuck to a desk, right? They can stand over there in the back of the room, and they could like look at the wall and just play and then put it down again, right? Steam Deck, my Steam Deck is down there, like near my bed, because when I have 10 to 15 minutes to play, and I'm like, before I go to sleep, I shouldn't do that before I go to sleep, but separate issue. I pick up my Steam Deck and I play for 10 to 15 minutes and then I put it back again. Or if it's Civilization, then I play for 4 hours, regret my life choices, and then go to sleep, right? So think about this. Like, all of these things have consequences for the players that you're looking for. I also see that the music has stopped, so let's go with soundtrack hits. Yeah, oh, that's a good song. I at this point know the order of the songs in the list. And this list is very good. Yeah, I should put that information in the post as well, but in a shortened format. For example, new parents or people with very busy social lives. They won't start up their gaming rig for 15 minutes of playing. They would much rather do that on a phone or a Switch or a Steam Deck, etc. These people are looking for very low barriers of entry for the games that they play. So make sure to utilize these kinds of factors of your game, and take it into account in your development. I have a feeling this paragraph isn't very clear, but we'll find out about that in a second. There we go. Normally when I make changes using Grammarly, it like messes up the entire text, but now it didn't. So that's kind of cool. Let's quickly do a save. Whoa. This is a really shit way of doing this. There we go. Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, so this is the first part about demographic research. God. I really hope anyone has the time to read this. Oh God, what am I doing to myself? Okay, alright. And if not, I'll just turn this into a video and then I can spread the information that way. So I've said that for like 6 topics already, so things are going great. Okay, let's take another sip. Okay. What am I doing? What am I doing? Yes. When you have looked into the demographics and established an example player for yourself. Also, I just noticed, look at how nicely this kind of almost creates a nice diagonal line of spaces. That's kind of cool. I'm slowly going insane. It is time to market the shit out of it. No, not the shit out of it. Time to market it a lot. Here are some tips regarding that. First and foremost, ignore Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you care about your time and money. And I'll also die by that opinion. Yes. I want to add an extra thing here. Figure out which subreddits they visit, etc., etc. Because that's also a very good thing. Like for Factorio players, I don't want to market it on TikTok necessarily. Trying to navigate this next sentence a little bit, but because I know that Factorio players are likely, this is a bit of a big assumption, but I'm relatively confident in this assumption. I might be entirely wrong, but we'll see. I know that Factorio players are probably more likely to be scrounging around on Reddit than they are to be scrounging around on TikTok. Purely due to the nature of the two applications, the two sources of information. It takes someone with a very long attention span to play games like Factorio. So if you didn't have a medium through which it's only really short form content, those two things kind of don't match. I'm not saying there's no Factorio players that are looking at stuff on TikTok. There are, obviously there are. But I am saying that you're probably more likely to find them in other places than you are to find them on TikTok, for example. So TikTok is great in most cases, as long as what you are showing is super visual. It has to immediately pull in the attention of the viewer, because within 2 seconds they are gone again. Let's Google this. Let's Google if this is true. How long do users wait on TikTok before going to the next post? This is totally not helpful. How quickly do TikTok users decide if they like the TikTok? Something like that. No, these are not really. Yeah. There's some information here. I know you guys can't see this because it's a little hard to show. Hang on. 1 billion users per month. 2 billion users at the moment as of 2020. Most downloaded app. 62% of people between 10 and 29 are on TikTok. It's impressive. And users spend an average of 45 minutes a day on the app. That is interesting information. 90% of TikTok users access it on a daily basis. And there's even more adults that are on it now than teens. Yeah, no, this didn't give me the information I wanted, but yeah. So let's put a thingy in front of it so that we're not entirely confident. To me, the point of view of the attention of the viewer, because within 2 seconds they are gone again. Yes. Reddit can, let's put that in italics, can also be a great marketing platform if you are not posting, well, no, for two different types of marketing. So keep your marketing efforts visual, to the point, and show off the fun. Ask them to follow the account rather than to wishlist the game. TikTok strongly disfavors, that's not a word, disfavors content that leads users away from the platform. Most platforms do this, but TikTok is particularly very, very like active in this, because any TikTok that allows people to click a link that goes onto a different platform means they're no longer on TikTok, means TikTok is not earning money, means TikTok is going to say to that video, well, you might be a little bit popular, but we're going to kind of keep you down there because, you know, you're leading users away from our platform. They don't want that. Rightly so, but something to look out for. Apparently disfavors is a word, so that's cool. We've all learned something today. Reddit must be a great opportunity. So the first type is informative content for fellow developers. How-tos. The second type is, how do I describe this? Show off content for your target audience. Please make sure not to spam this type of content. It will adversely affect the public opinion of your game. This also includes cross-posting to other communities, as your target audience is likely following This also includes cross-posting to other subreddits. Your target audience is likely following many of the subreddits you are cross-posting to, exposing them to the same post, many times. You don't want that. You don't want that. That's because the chance that someone will like it on the first try, because that's really, it's all about first impressions, is present. But if someone doesn't like it and then is forced to see your advertisement, basically what it is, 6 more times because you've cross-posted to like all of these different subreddits that they're following because this is your target audience. Imagine how frustrating that is. Imagine if you don't like something, but you're forced to look at something 6 more times. Whenever then someone starts a conversation about, you know, your game that they've seen, this person's gonna go like, "Oh man, they're so annoying. Like they keep posting the same ad, and it might adversely then affect the opinion of someone else because social standings and whatever, which then affects your sales." Let me just copy and paste our entire post again. I'm basically auto-saving myself, so it's not really automatic, but it is saving. Okay. Yeah, I also really don't want to make this like a huge post on marketing. So we're gonna end it off with this. If you take the time to regularly, that's totally not how you spell that. It is cool. It's like to regularly every 2 3 weeks or so post a little update, do a bit of marketing, then slowly you will gain traction over the time it takes to develop your game, with a notable uptick towards the end. A great example of this is a game called You Suck at Parking. For the lurkers that have been on this sub for some time, you will have seen the earlier prototyping footage of the devs way before it became the success it is today. Yeah. 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 Like this. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Okay. That is marketing kind of taken care of. Small disclaimer. This is not an exhaustive post around marketing, so I kept this a little shorter than usual. Ask away in the comments. Okay. All right. Marketing done. God, that's a lot of scrolling. Don't be a liar. Do we still want to include this? No, I don't think so. Because really what I mean with this is that you shouldn't be a liar to yourself. That's really what I mean. Especially during the prototyping phase. If you are lying to yourself and you're trying to desperately like convince yourself, because that's really what you're doing, convince yourself that your game is fun, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. So don't do that. That's it. Okay, so we just got to make a little blurby intro, and then based on that, we can do a little bit of a conclusion. I would turn that around, to be honest to yourself. Yes. Yeah. We could make a small little chapter. Proceeds to write 6 paragraphs. Be honest with yourself. I want you to succeed. Everyone wants you to succeed. But in order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself. The game you are working on right now, is it fun? Do others think so too? God, this is gonna be depressing. I'm in the business of shattering dreams. But I can turn it around to be positive, to be inspiring. Well, that's for others to decide. I can't decide that, but hopefully inspiring for others. It is okay if the answer is no. Better late than never, right? Yeah, okay. Better late than never, right? During your prototyping phase, you want to during your prototyping phase, you want to be as honest as possible with yourself to make sure you end up with a game prototype that is as fun as it can possibly be. My brain hurts. My brain hurts a lot at the moment. As fun as it can possibly be. Yeah. Because then you are creating as big of a chance as possible that your game will become commercially successful. That your game is commercially viable. Yeah. I think the heading is enough in itself. Yeah. Yeah. Let's remove this. I think these 2 sentences still add value. Yeah, and I think that's fine to leave it at. Okay. Conclusion. Thanks for the pointer, Jagu. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't know what I write. I don't know what I want to write for the conclusion yet. You can tell my brain is kind of like melting. It all just becomes funny noises and half strung together sentences. Okay, so I want to mention introduce, mention why, shameless self-promo. I want to put the shameless self-promo at the front now, I think, because like we discussed yesterday, yes, we're using this post to kind of like promote this stream, but we're doing it after putting in a ton of effort. And then personally, I believe it's okay to add a link. And I think that's the thing that we discussed last time as well, where it's okay to hope that people who found this valuable will then tune in the next time and, you know, and add to the conversation. Ultimately, I want to talk to as many indie devs as possible. I think it's appropriate now. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. I want to talk to as many indie devs as possible. I want to solve their problems. Yeah, because I think it's such a shame when making games is so incredibly awesome. That there's so many people who get discouraged by it because they get lured in on false premises and they get strung along on false premises, and then they end up with feeling discouraged, potentially even depressed, when they never really got a fair chance anyway. So, yeah. So if you're an indie dev and you're watching and you need help, reach out. I'm here. It's okay. Stupid questions don't exist. Ever. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Gotta shake my brain and drink. I have to hydrate. Okay, alright. How am I gonna write this? Rapidly moving my fingers above the keyboard, pretending I'm typing, to give my brain a sense of progression. Sometimes even tapping the keys to create an auditory reward. Okay. How is this part the hardest? This is stupid. God. Based on the response to the previous post, and seeing a very interesting discussion on a post from this person, FL3333R, from u/FL3333R, on a post. Let's link that. I want to give this person the credit. That's important. Balls. This is where Reddit is a funky thing. And I just gotta post a link like that, and then I can change it, and I can say post. Like that. I can say apply, and then I remove this post. There we go. On a post from and seeing a post from where an interesting discussion took place between what are their names? Because ultimately I'm writing this post for them, right? That's really what I'm doing it for. So I want to make sure they can find it, because this is way too much content to put into a comment, right? So Lunar Fable Games. Can I just copy? Oh no, I don't think I can I? If I go to this person's Reddit. Oh, I can. Perfect. Good. Between and Tim. I'd love to have a chat with Tim. If he ever sees this and he's open for it, let's have a chat. Because I think you're one of the very few genuine game devs out there. Indie game devs out there. Oh, I can't even. Okay. I have no idea if this is going to work. Okay, well, that's fine. We're listening to a discussion took place between about how to figure out if your game is commercially viable early on in the process. Based on the response to my previous post, and seeing a post from Brain Strings to place between about how to figure out if your game is survival, I decided to write another long form post exactly about how to make sure your game is commercially viable as soon as possible. Okay. I just did a quick autosave. Next time I will just write it in Google Docs, I promise. Brain hurty. Okay. As with the last post, it was entirely written whilst streaming and discussing the topic. So if you want to discuss this further, please feel free to check out my stream or just shoot me a chat on Discord or no, on Reddit. Sorry, on Reddit. And then for the stream, where even is my stream window? I have no idea. I'm so glad, and this is totally to do with me. I don't like to look at viewer numbers whilst I'm streaming. It makes me highly insecure for no good reason, may I add. But it's just the idea of putting that kind of pressure on myself. Because it doesn't matter if there's one person watching or 25 million. Well, 25 million is nice, but none of that matters. But I know that for me, and this shouldn't matter, but it does because I'm a human and I'm flawed. I don't like both the pressure of doing all of this. Well, no, doing all this whilst there's just any amount of people watching. Like, I appreciate the interaction a lot. Like, I love the interaction. I really do. But just putting a number on it just always feels weird. And it always does something to me. So I'm very happy that just now I didn't look, because I can turn it off in Streamlabs. I can turn it off on, like, my creator dashboard. But I can't turn it off when I actually, like, look on my channel page. So anyway, that was a bit of a sidebar, but anyway, yes, okay, so we did the self promo, we've done the why, we've done the introduction. Well, we haven't really done the introduction, but we're kind of getting straight into it, really. Bonk, full stop there. Okay, then there's still a conclusion to write. Okay, and then we can post it. We're gonna keep the conclusion as short as possible. Okay. So, if you want to find out, as soon as possible, if your game idea is commercially viable, you have to focus yourself on finding the fun in your game. Not only do you need to find it, you need to let others show you what is fun, and then focus on that. But you also need to let others show you what is fun and then focus on that. As soon as you have done that, you just need to focus on no, not just, that's the wrong word. You then need to focus on regular testing and regular marketing efforts that don't take up a lot of no, I'm reiterating stuff. I'm regulating marketing efforts to increase the chance of your game being a commercial success. Because that's really what it's about. Something can be commercially viable, but that doesn't mean it's automatically a commercial success. Those two things are disjointed from each other, as they should be, because you cannot predict the future. So you can merely estimate it, and hopefully you're right. Yeah. There are many more topics to discuss. For example, game design principles. What? Okay. Game design principles, game marketing, Steam setup, Meccano model, etc. So, so if you have any suggestions for my next post, feel free to let me know either through a comment, a chat, or by letting me know when I am streaming. And again, I'll add a link here. There we go. Okay, let's copy everything again and put it in here. Very cool. Okay. Flare. Discussion? What did we do for the previous one? I think it was discussion, wasn't it? Yeah, it was discussion. Cool. 425 upvotes. I think it's the highest upvoted post I ever made. 74,000 people have seen it. It's insane. It's insane. Actually, I was talking to my friends about this yesterday, who are also game developers, like AAA game developers. And I was like explaining that we did this, and like, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before, 2 days ago. And by the time I ended explaining what I'd done and what I've written and whatever, one of the guys was like, "Oh, so how many people did you say that followed it? That saw it?" I was like, "Oh, it's like at the time 65K or something." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I was one of them. I read this. This was so surreal." And I was like, "That is very surreal. Now break it down piece by piece. I want you to destroy it." And he was like, "Yes, I have some notes." So I was like, "Right, great." I do like my friends quite a bit. There really is no TLDR. I guess this is the TLDR. TLDR conclusion. Yeah, and I should then put that at the top as well. TLDR at the bottom. Okay, cool. Now comes this really cool moment of pressing post, and I never really like to do that, so I just did it whilst I was complaining about how I never like to do that. It's out there. God Christ. Oh yes, it's just a quick post. I am currently at 25% zoom, and I still can't get it all into one page, and I can't zoom out further. Oh man, Christ. I guess I have to update it. Ah, thanks, Jag. I appreciate it, but only upvote it if you really think that it's worth it. I don't want to ask for upvotes, so to say. But I am very happy with the result. Christ. My brain is just leaking brain matter now. Okay, so if anyone is watching at the moment, and you think to yourself, I need my problems solved. I want to discuss my problems. Whether that's your problems with your game development process or with your game as a whole. Shoot it into chat. I've got 45 minutes left before I need to go. So let's talk. Let's do it. Let's discuss. Let's make things happen. Let's become the best we can be together. Because that's the whole purpose. Let me also update this inside of my Twitch thingy so that the title is right. Let's solve your game dev issues. There we go. I've got a message from someone. Oh, I got a key from someone. Cool. On Wednesday. Awesome. It's a long post, but it does have good content. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, and if you disagree with something, just add a comment onto it and just disagree. Like, that's fine. Unlike someone... I didn't even discuss that yet. On our previous post, I do kind of want to highlight it because it is kind of funny to me. On the previous post, we wrote together... the original guy, what is his name? Sentry Down, responded to it. Somewhere way down here. Yeah, here we go. And I found it a bit of an interesting response. He said, wasn't expecting to see this pop up in my feed. Wow. The original is just a Reddit post with a super simplified message meant to react, share, advice, motivate people. It's not a scientific master thesis on the topic of AAA game production, nor a step-by-step guide on how to handle it. Third tendency is implying that mine is, but it's not. It's just a little bit long-form content. It was a mistake to use lots of big AAA instead of some AAA or even the AAA projects I've worked on. Lesson learned. Now, there's no need to countersteer with even more radical takes in the opposite direction. Okay. There are so many projects out there, so believe it or not, people have different personal experience on AAA projects. Therefore, they may form different opinions. Really glad you were part of the methodical projects that were well directed. It wasn't the case for me, and I just tried to help people not fall on the same traps I've seen. Not sure if the dedicated response post was needed, but anyway, judging by the response to both, I'm glad we can have debates and learn from different people in this community. So the end is nice, and I appreciate the end. Just the 3 paragraphs before that, in my opinion, were a little condescending and unnecessary, very defensive in a way, and like especially because, in my opinion, and someone else said this as well. The super simplified message, can I find the guy that said this? Yeah, here. Salamander, okay, 6944. The original post was based on a faulty premise. Yeah, and then a lot of the posts are based on faulty premises. Because he oversimplified it so much in his original post, right? The original poster of the other posts. Christ. Here. It lost all of the nuance, it lost all of the detail, and it basically, in my opinion, communicated the wrong message to people. And because it got so popular, I figured, okay, let's add a bit of information here. Let's talk about this. And then he comes back with 3 paragraphs of no, but actually. So I don't know. I thought it was funny. I still upvoted it because I was like, yeah, because I basically responded to it saying like, oh, I hope it didn't offend you because I hope it didn't. And hopefully people can learn from, both our posts. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting stuff. I like people who come back and say, actually, I didn't agree with something, or can you explain more, or that's a big assumption you're making. There was even one guy here at the bottom who said, citation needed. I did download this because the citation needed thing. Apparently, I never knew this. But when you Google what this means, because I have no idea, when you Google what this means in Reddit's context, it's usually used by people who are basically being toxic about something. Like they're constantly asking for, oh, where's your proof? Where's your proof? Where's your proof? When some things don't have proof, right? They just are the way they are, or they're empirical, right? Which is totally valid. So I responded a big long post to this one as well. saying like, oh, adding a source makes sense because of course it does. I understand that we can't just go around making claims that aren't substantiated by something. And so I decided to substantiate it. Yeah, which is interesting. And there was some interesting conversation coming back from someone else, which was always cool. So anyway, cool stuff. I want to have a chat with Tim about that. I'm just gonna say it again because Jago, I know you have your in with him. So if he's at all interested, I'd love to have a nice discussion with him. I really would. Okay. Anyway, all of that out the way. Let's close that, and let's close all of this. Yes. And let's close that page. Yes. Questions. All of your questions, send them my way. Put them in chat. Any question goes. Are you suffering from not being sure what fun is in your game? Are you suffering from a different problem? Are you suffering from crunch? Are you suffering from feature creep? Do you want me to just play your game and just tell you what I think? Everything's possible. Feedback is a good thing. I promise I am constructive and kind when I give feedback. So please don't shy away from feedback because it's going to make your game infinitely better. It really is. In the meantime, let's take a quick look on the new posts, which is that one. But and I mainly want to look at questions just to see if there's any questions in here. How can I find people to build a team? r/inat. Procedural island generation. I don't know. What is your most successful game dev marketing channel? Or do you have a good publisher that gives you good marketing results? If so, which one? What? What's a YouTube video? What? The name Good Boy Chris implies that there is Bad Boy Chris. Is he available for reviewing games as well? Maybe. You actually missed him. You just missed him. He only comes out once a year on Halloween. So I'm afraid you missed him. I'm sorry. He's very mean. He's very, very mean. So I make sure he stays far away. That's a good question. It's a very good question. I'm so sore from working out yesterday. Not yesterday, Tuesday. I'm still sore from Tuesday. I've been using a personal trainer, and she's excellent. She's great. I've been using her for about 5 months now, and I'm really seeing a difference. But holy hell, whenever I get too comfortable, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna shake things up, and we're gonna do crazy exercises." And I'm like, "Can we not?" And then she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do lunges." And I'm like, ugh. I wish we wouldn't, but fair enough. Which publishers that are medium to big are open to publishing and are funding indie games? Thinking that Suma's indie program and the Square Enix Collective. Wondering what others might be. I don't know. I know that Epic has their Mega Grant fund, which is always cool. So we could respond to that. Hey, meaningful choices, nice. The fear continues to publish in Devolver, yeah. Although personally, again, personal opinion, I would stay away from Team 17, but personal experience, personal opinion. Yeah. God, now this bottle is in the way. Hang on, let me put this bottle over here. Yes, so the Epic Mega Grant is still available. If you are looking for money to support your development, but don't want to give up a ton of creative freedom, then perhaps the Epic Mega Grant is something for you. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no. God damn it. The Epic Mega Grant is something for you. There we go. Cool. A lost 22-year-old guy with passion for game dev, badly in need of some advice. Alright, here we go. Let's give the advice. I'm about to complete a bachelor's in a subject I know the interested in, but forced to study anyway. It's complicated, but long story short, I live in Bangladesh where the education system is pretty messed up. My CGPA is a 2.8 out of 4, which is not great either. The subject was business studies, if you were wondering. I've always had a passion for game dev, I wanted to learn it, but my studies in university didn't give me a chance to really pursue it. Although I did learn some beginner intermediate stuff about Unreal and Blender as much as I could, I really want to learn game dev, but the opportunity here doesn't exist. And even if though I can learn everything through YouTube and stuff, I wouldn't be able to do much in this place. Either I try to pursue my dream or look for another job. I need to go abroad in this case. So my question is there any good game dev school in Europe that I can apply? US, Canada, and UK are very expensive for me. You guys may advise me to apply for computer science, but because I have a business major, the options are very limited. Also, is it even possible to apply, or am I screwed? Yes, I can recommend one school, the one that I've gone to. I'll turn it into English, sorry. Programs, games, this one. Boom. I can highly recommend this program in the Netherlands. I followed it myself and am currently working as a AAA producer and designer. Yeah, speaking of which, I'm normally only a producer. You guys know this. For the people that watch me more often, you guys know that I'm a producer. Even though I started out as a designer, then I did that for like 2 years, and then for 2 years I started focusing on production because it was really what I was passionate about. So that's what I ended up graduating in. But either way, I still have a ton of game design experience. And now, after 3.5 years of doing production, because of staffing issues, I need to be a designer again on a project, and it has been interesting. Doing research, which equals playing games, is something I kind of missed. But then making the translation step of that research into a good design and how would it be implemented, etc., is a step I've definitely not missed. So it's an interesting process right now. So what things do you plan for early on? I'm digging into multiplayer. Oh no. One of the first things I read in the docs was to plan for multiplayer early, and that's true. I noticed that other features such as saving should also be planned for early on. Could be. Saving is not nearly as important to plan early on. So my question is, what things do you guys recommend planning for early on in development to reduce the possibility of having to restructure and reprogram entire sections of the game later on? Well, luckily this guy already said reduce the possibility, not avoid, because you can't avoid reprogramming entire sections. Jago, I think that's like your area of expertise in terms of programming. So, yeah, this guy kind of gets the right idea. I don't know what else you would plan for, to be honest. In the area of programming, I am just doing stuff at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know. What makes my game so hard to code correctly? How to vet a competent dev team? I have a fancy football game using NFTs. Next. Web game handling unwanted modification. I don't know. How to make a tech demo type game for portfolio. Multiplayer definitely needs to be in at the start. Saving is as well a good idea to start early. Right, start early. Right, yeah. How to find people to work with if you don't have a budget? Have a cool, fun game, and then you'll find people that want to work with you. Unexpected games which are making a ton of money. Oh yeah, I read this post earlier today. It's interesting. We could take a look at it. So yeah, there's a lot of games that are unexpected that have made a ton of money. But I think the common denominator is that none of them thought they would be. None of them came out the gate saying like, oh, Complete is innovative, never seen before game. No one said that, because you don't say that about your own shit. Because you don't know. Whether something is innovative or not is decided after the fact, not beforehand. Minecraft wasn't innovative before it was released. It was innovative 5 years after it was released, and it completely defined its own genre, basically. So, yeah. Right. Yeah, Valheim. What else? Townscaper. I've not heard of this game. Oh, yes, I have heard of this game. Oh, yeah, wow, that is a lot. Christ. 16,000. Holy balls. Let's do some napkin math. Napkin math says 16,349 times 41 times 4.99. That's actually quite a lot of money. Not as much as I was expecting it to be, but that is quite a lot of money. Especially because it looks like one guy worked on this, Oskar Stelberg. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Yeah, crazy. Among Us, yeah. There's a lot of really getting over by Bennett Foddy, yeah, another good one. But that's also because this game as well, very much focused on what is fun, right? Or, well, in this case, what is frustrating. That game is very frustrating. Alright, next question. What sets your game apart from others in the genre? Do I want to put myself through the pain? It's much worse. Yes, that is very good. That is very funny. I like that. Jesus. My game has one raccoon in it, which this is much more than the average of 0 raccoons in competing products. I wasn't expecting this to be full of meme responses. Games like that do not seem like they should sell so many units, but some influencer action pushes them so far. Yeah, because, and I guess that's another thing, right? And this is something to consider as well at the start. If you want your game to go viral, which is a very short burning a burst of income, and after that it won't sell that much anymore, which is okay, then you need to make something that is very watchable. Not necessarily playable, but very watchable. Like, games like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy is super watchable because you're not the one playing. But if you're the one playing, that is... I'll prove it to you right now. Because I'm crazy like that. Don't know why I'm doing it to myself, but... there we go. Cool. Install content. Boom. Installed. Okay, I'll show you guys in a second how frustrating that game is. I'm making a bullet hell where you don't have any traditional weapons. Instead of shooting at enemies, you have to get up close and use your ship thruster boost to cause damage. So kind of like a melee bullet hell, I guess. Oof. Another thing that sets my game apart from the bullet hells is a shield system. It's basically the Sonic Ring system, but in space. Oh no. The system works really well in the bullet hell because it allows you to learn enemy patterns and experiment in a more forgiving way. And there's also incentive to fully charge your shield and not get hit, which drops all your stardust, because you can discharge your full shield as a massive supernova bomb. It's hard to disseminate from a piece of text how this exactly works. But the whole idea of a melee bullet hell sounds mega frustrating. Like, super duper frustrating. The whole bullet hell genre is about evasion. Why would you make it melee? Set it apart from other games, and it's like this other game don't seem compatible. Yes. Yes, I think you're right, Vivox. Yeah. Yeah, you're actually very right. Well, I mean, technically speaking, it could set you apart in the genre if there's only one or two other games that kind of do what you do. But it's definitely a gray area. I'll definitely agree there. Definitely. What else? It won't make money. That is very funny. Next one, please. Yeah. I'm making a roguelike deck builder. But hear me out. Okay. It's a mix of Slay Spire, Into the Breach, and Space Invaders. And Space Invaders? What? We're working on a unique grid-based tactical defense. Oh, fuck off. I already tune out. Stop this. Stop this madness. So it's a roguelike deck builder with a unique grid-based tactical defense core gameplay loop where you defend the Earth from descending hordes of aliens. This system has three main advantages compared to the standard in the genre. No stalling. Sure, you can push and pull the invaders, but the core gameplay always moves forward towards a win or loss state. So becoming overpowered with infinites are both fun and tactical to play and welcome in our game without being tedious. What? That doesn't make sense. No numbers. No need to do math in our game, or long calculations to figure out if you have lethal. Since our game abstractifies enemy health into swarms of aliens, we move that math part of the game into intuitive spatial visualization. A side effect of this, we don't have any cards or relics that are just stat boosts either. They all need a different, impactful effect. So, I hate all of that, but this is kind of cool. This reminds me of Dead Space, where Dead Space took the health bar from the UI and put it on the back of the character. That is interesting, right? Kind of like changing that information and putting it in the view of the player instead of making it like an element they need to keep watch of. That's kind of interesting. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. It doesn't remove the numbers, it just puts it in a different context. You're totally right. But it is interesting, right? It's kind of like taking very common UI elements and placing it elsewhere. Or translating it into something else. It's dangerous because UI elements tend to communicate information, and when the information becomes abstract or too abstract, you lose the value of the information and your players get frustrated because they don't understand. But it is an interesting thing to try. You actually get to feel like a superhero. You can move multiple times during your turn and destroy dozens of enemies in one huge combo of chain reactions, as the goal is to defend the Earth rather than to survive yourself. Movement is not as broken as in most tactical games. What? I feel like a mega giant superhero when I slay the spire. Or at least when I get to the top and then beat the heart and then, you know, and then start from the start again. But, yeah, I don't know. I will still do the math to figure out if I will kill at least X enemies instead of dealing X damage. Yeah, and even if they've abstractified that and it's just a big blob of enemies, right, a big swarm, and whenever you play X card, it, like, reduces by 10% or something, but it's visual, so it doesn't tell you. Even then, I guess it becomes really frustrating, because then you're like, oh, will this card do enough damage to shrink that enough? It's a dangerous game they're playing, but it could pay off, but it's risky. It's risky. It is. There's so much more that I'd love to talk about. Rewind any part of the game. Unique energy system. Rewind any part of the game? No. No, don't do that. But I rather the game speak for itself when it's ready. The roguelike deck builder genre is pretty inundated with games, and I can sense a certain level of fatigue throughout the community. But I'm hoping our game has the passion and special juice to make its mark. Hope is a terrible strategy. Oh god. I can see both sides. I hate not knowing my numbers. Stops you from creating good plans. But on the other side, you don't want players to get stuck in planning hell. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the balance, right? That's the balance. And tipping to any one side is fatal. But I'd much rather have players getting stuck in planning hell than not have the numbers they need to make the choices. And this part, rewind any part of the game, I believe... there was a game a few years ago, and I think I want to say that it was one of the later seasons of The Walking Dead from Telltale, where you could basically rewind after each choice or something. Um, um, which completely takes any effect or any consequence of the game away. You want games to have consequences, especially a roguelike. You want to have consequences for your actions. That's the whole part that is so rewarding in the roguelike genre. Trying over and over and over again. So if you can rewind any part of the game, I could make a fatal mistake, then rewind it, and then do it differently until I get it right. But like that's super short, so that means that I could essentially finish the whole game in one playthrough, which is exactly what you don't want from a roguelike. I buy a roguelike to play it for 6 million hours and never really win. That's what I buy it for. Like, I'm all for random effects, but give me the numbers on how random it is. Yeah, exactly. You want information. Players need information. And they need concrete information. XCOM 2, with their lovely 98% chance to hit, infuriates me. Because it's never entirely sure. A rewind mechanic just makes planning hell much worse, and it also totally destroys random events. Yeah, exactly. No farming. Thank God for that. That's actually probably a good idea. I'm making a social deduction game, but instead of pretending to be innocent, the monsters pretend to be other players. A built-in voice filter makes the players' voices indistinguishable, and I have to figure out who you're talking to by discussing questions. As far as I know, there's no social deduction with such a feature so far. Maybe, but it sounds technically very challenging. Because either you can just know what random result you get, or even worse, you can just re-roll until you get something good. Yeah. Or it becomes completely useless because when you rewind after the random event and you play it again, it just gives you the same result. Because the result is predetermined, right? In each run, so to say. That could be the case, right? And if that is the case, oh boy, that is bad. It's mainly a tower defense, but instead of towers, you have a cannon that orbits around the Earth. There are some real-time action you can make, such as throwing missiles at enemies, but the focus of the game is making macro-level decisions in order to improve your defenses by managing resources. Okay. I also have added some roguelike elements to make it more interesting, such as randomized events that give bonuses and wave compositions. I'm not sure that my idea is so unique, but I haven't seen a similar game in the genre. Okay, it sounds interesting. Sounds a little vague, but it sounds interesting. Real-time strategy fused with what? Real-time strategy fused with what's usually a turn-based genre, hopefully to make the simulation that's usually skipped interactive and exciting. What? I've no idea what that means. I'm seeing... This is so strange. So, can I see it, please? Someone said hello, but I actually can't see it in my Streamlabs, which is really weird. Hello, person. Hi. I'm sorry, I couldn't see your message just now. But that's probably because my Streamlabs is doing a bit weird. I hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, reach out. Thanks for joining the stream. Really appreciate it. And I'm so confused because it only gives out this, right? I don't know. Jugga, can you just put a message in chat just to make sure I can see stuff? Oh yeah, it might be YouTube viewer actually. Yeah, if you're from YouTube, I've now corrected my Streamlabs so I can actually see your messages. I'm so sorry. I hope it works now. I want to make a psychological horror game that's from a side of physics reality, or realistic. Okay, that seems cool, I guess. I don't know how that would work, but that sounds cool. I would share my gimmick, but until I make it happen, I gotta keep it close to the chest. No! Stop this madness. Stop keeping things close to the chest. We've talked about this in the past. Stop doing that. 1 versus 1 VR FPS. What makes it different is that you respawn as one of the NPCs in the map. But you can only respawn as one if you tag them. If you can't respawn any more number tagged NPCs, you lose. The game gets harder as there are less and less NPCs to respawn as. Okay. Okay, interesting. Interesting. My game is different from its genre because it has all the ingredients I've been looking for, most of us, including me. What? Okay. Um. Uh. This gets an upvote from me. That's very funny. I have a technical question. I don't know if I could, if you could help me with. Yeah. Ask the technical question, and then let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can figure it out. Making a random game where the beat generation and difficulty adapts to the player's skill level procedurally. Why? The beat generation has also taken a note from Thumper in that it'll use increasingly alien timing and patterns. The second bit I can see. The first bit I don't know why you would want that. The whole point is that the player's skill level increases and manages to pass the songs or beats or whatever. Oh, there's so many people that just are not disclosing what they're doing. It's crazy. It's an endless runner type, but instead of running, my main character flies, evading block-like explosive structures known as ops that are simple looking but pure evil if you look closely. So it's still just an endless runner. It's Animal Crossing with Zelda LTTP style art, and everyone in the same world instead of instance, I think. What? Dynamic difficulty sounds like a good idea on paper, but it really isn't. Exactly. I have a big project that I want to render from UE5 as a 360 video, but it's taking so much time. Yes, it will do that. Yeah, UE5 having the ability to even render out cutscenes like that is not very common, let alone that it's very optimized. So if you don't have a really beefy PC with like a really beefy CPU, it's just gonna take time. It really is. Yeah, especially because it's a 360 video. It's yeah, it takes a lot of time. I would recommend just leaving it running overnight and see how far that gets you. One of my favorite things in games is just completely destroying stuff I sucked at before. Exactly, because it makes you feel cool. If I want a harder challenge, let me change the difficulty during gameplay. Don't lock me into difficulty at the start when I have no reference for how difficult normal is. Yeah, exactly. You want dynamic difficulty in the sense of being able to change your difficulty whilst you're playing, but you don't want the game to adjust the difficulty based on what it assumes your skill is. Like, let alone that you don't even understand how difficult it is to even figure out what player skill even is in the context of your game. Like, figuring that out is impossible. I'll happily say it. Right now, it's impossible. You don't want that. Make sure you have enough hard disk space for your 360 video. You do not want to run out in the middle of the render. Yes, that is also a great tip. But yeah, make difficulty adjustable whilst you're playing by the player. But for the love of God, do not what's it called? Do not adjust the difficulty without the player knowing, especially in rhythm games. Like, don't do that. You now have 3 3090 RTXs, okay, and I'm now ordering the motherboard that can support NVLink, but I just heard that UE5 doesn't support that. Do you have any idea? I don't have any idea about it, I'm sorry. But you have 3 3090 RTXs? Because that's... I don't even know if that fits on one motherboard, to be honest. Let alone how efficiently they would work together. And also, I think the rendering in UE5 is CPU bound. I don't think it's GPU bound, to be honest. Maybe it is. I don't know. But as far as I know, most render engines like to use the CPU. So, I don't know. I have no idea. And it also makes it really hard to tell if you're getting better or the game is going easier. Yeah, exactly. What you want is for players to realize themselves that they're becoming better. Halo's pretty good at this. Civilization's pretty good at this. Factorio is really good at this. Super Mario is really good at this. There's a few examples. Yeah, Yeah, that basically. Because once the player has to do something they've done before and they struggled with, but now they don't struggle anymore, imagine how good that feels. Imagine what kind of a reward that is. You don't have to give them anything for it. They give it to themselves because they're progressing, and progression is satisfying. Very satisfying. So don't take that away from people. Don't take that away from your players. Rainbow Six 1998. I see you, and I raised 3 hobgoblins and a dragon. Rainbow Six hasn't been Rainbow Six for well beyond a decade now, but yeah, XCOM plus Rainbow Six plus D&D. This scares me. These kind of people scare me. We started Citizen being a thing. Mine won't get developed. Dreams of Pain. I've implemented sounds in a very unique way into the puzzles. Also, I've built quite exciting ARG elements into the storytelling. At least I haven't seen anything like my game before. To be honest, I haven't had much time to play and find out. Okay. Dreams of Pain. Okay. Is of extreme difficulty. Okay. I hope it works. I hope it's successful, but I doubt it. This is making me reconsider some stuff in my game. I have 2 memories. Okay, a shoot away. I've got 9 minutes until I need to go. So shoot away. I'll try to help you out. Ugly sob. This is a good thread. I like this thread. This is nice. Blah blah blah. Drone or similar animal build. Yeah, you can go full monkey. Okay, cool. Pacing and balancing. All right, go on. These are notoriously hard parts to get right, may I add, and they're kind of interlinked. But please do share some details. Sports beat 'em up. It's an online local multiplayer active ragdoll sports game featuring maps for various different sports. The moveset is pretty simple: move, punch, kick, jump, and the goal is to get the ball objects into the goals. You throw your hands when punching and need to pick them up again. Okay. Players are knocked out when a physics impulse force applied to their head body is larger than a certain threshold. Little trailer video thing here. What is sorry. I'm so sorry for the sound. I'm so sorry. Sorry. For pacing, I'm actually thinking about just cutting out a mechanic. So it is a turn-based tower defense. So originally I was considering have the player manually select who towers should attack each turn, but I see this might make the gameplay look pretty slow. So thinking about just making towers auto attack. So it depends. Because you kind of, as I understand it now, if you can tweak your towers every turn, yeah, it makes the gameplay move faster, but it removes... Yeah, I can see a lot of value in the strategic choice. I can see a lot of satisfaction coming from a very, like a close-cut moment where um, where essentially an enemy is really close to like the core or like the end point, so to say. But because you have configured your towers again based on the information you got from the last turn, and it now kills the um, the big guy that is about to get to the end, that is very satisfying, right? Because you're getting a lot of freedom in terms of focusing. Okay, what did my towers do in the last configuration, in the last turn? How am I going to change it this turn to hopefully achieve the result in like the coming turn, basically. Um, um, yeah. Um, Personally, I, you could do an A/B test between one version that does have it and one version that doesn't have it. But I think what would be much better to do is probably keep it in, make it a prototype, send it out to a few people, and see if they comment on the length of the core gameplay loop. Um, I had an idea of tower defense where you give the towers a firing sector, so kind of combo of auto shoot and aiming. Yeah, that could work. Maybe I can have a smart system where it auto attacks if there's only one obvious choice. The problem isn't obvious. What is obvious, right? It's a little bit subjective, unless you make it really, really, really strict. Like only one enemy is. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And giving you a choice if there's multiple things it could do. Yeah. Personally, because I think this is a big choice, and I think this is something that could set you apart a little bit as well. I would test this feature. I'd be happy to test this as well. Just shoot me a build, and I'll be happy to test it. That's what I'd recommend, because I do think this is quite significant, especially because you have that turn-based aspect. You don't want to have the turn-based aspect for nothing. Basically, that's my worry. Like if you remove it entirely, why then still have turn-based? Unless there's something else that kind of keeps that up, but I don't know. I don't know enough. Right, last one we'll read. Our team of 4 love automation games, but wanted to make something more approachable but still challenging. We'll also make it about more than automation and logistics by adding a small world and NPCs to motivate the players to keep going. Basically, Factorio meets Stardew Valley. Most automation games are also sci-fi, so we thought Fantasy World would be a nice deviation. Specifically, Alchemy lends itself nicely to the genre. After all, how the hell are RPG potion sellers keeping up with demand? They must have a factory somewhere. So in our game, you run to the factory. We aren't done yet, but we did just put it on Steam. Curious to see if... Oh, this looks nice. But again, stuff that looks nice is not always great. Did I have a GIF about the actual factory part? It does look really nice. Wow, it looks really polished. Okay, I'm gonna follow this. What is it called? Magical Mixture Mill. Okay, I'll be curious to see where this goes. Okay. There's one response to one response that I just saw come in that I kind of want to take a look, but I've got 2 minutes, so I gotta be really, really, really quick. Let's be as quick as we can. I agree on the fact that games have to be fun to be, but you're implying that if your game is fun and it will sell well. The thing is that that to know if a game is fun, you have to play it first, and to convince a player that to play your game, it has to look good. Not entirely true. Dwarf Fortress looks like shit. And for the player to look at your promo art, you have to reach them to them first. Also, you're stating that market research as a whole is usually based on a flawed example, but then you recommend to carry out prototype playtesting, which is from market research itself. Yes. Yes, partially. I don't have the time to go into this, but I will go into this. I will respond to this person. And I'll show you guys next time what I responded to this person, because they're making a few good points, and I do want to discuss that. I do want to add that to my post, so that's a good point. Okay, in the meantime, for right now, I want to say to everyone here, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys sticking here and just watching me go like devolve into madness. I appreciate all of you. If you liked the stream, leave a follow. Feel free to join the Discord if that's something you want to do. Then you can talk to me in more detail or just talk about your game in specific. And beyond that, I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Alright, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.